How to crochet for beginners. What do you need to start crocheting? You only need these two things: a crochet hook, yarn. The right tools can make learning easier. Yarn comes in many different weights, from superfine baby weight yarn all the way up to bulky weight wool. Different patterns will recommend various types of yarns. But for beginners, I recommend using medium weight, number 4, acrylic, wool, or cotton yarn. You can buy this type of yarn online, or at any craft store. Medium yarn weight. I recommend that beginners choose a worsted weight yarn. Smooth texture. It's easier to see your stitches when you use a ball of simple, smooth wool or acrylic yarn. Light color. It can be hard to see exactly where to insert the hook when you use dark or multicolor yarn. Crochet hooks come in a range of sizes, shapes, and materials. The most important thing to remember is to match the size of the hook to the weight of the yarn. Use larger crochet hooks with thicker yarns and smaller crochet hooks with thinner yarns. For beginners, I recommend starting with an ergonomic hook in a medium size, like G6, 4.25 mm, or H8, 5.00 mm. If you aren't sure what the right size crochet hook is for your yarn, check the back of the yarn label. It will suggest an appropriate hook size for your specific yarn. You can find out more about crochet hook sizes here, crochet hook sizes and conversion chart. If you want to grab a few more items, you could also pick up yarn needle or a pack of blunt-tipped tapestry needles. Stitch markers, small, sharp scissors. How to crochet step by step. Let's get started. Gather your supplies and find a comfortable workspace with bright lighting. I encourage you to read through the steps before you pick up your hook. And remember, learning to crochet takes practice, so keep going. Step 1: How to hold the crochet hook. The first step is to learn how to hold the yarn and the crochet hook in a way that feels comfortable for you. Most people hold the hook in their dominant hand and the yarn in their non-dominant hand. Note, I'm right-handed, so the pictures will show me holding the hook in my right hand and the yarn in my left hand. I'll be writing the directions from the perspective of a right-handed person, but lefties can reverse the directions to learn how to do left-handed crochet. Most people hold the crochet hook in one of two ways: the pencil method or the knife method. Pencil grip: hold the crochet hook like a pencil between your thumb and index finger. Use your third finger underneath for more balance and control. Knife grip: place your hand over the hook, palm facing down. Hold the hook between your thumb and index finger. Wrap your other 3 fingers around the shaft of the crochet hook for greater control. Personally, I prefer to hold the hook with a knife grip. Try both options and see what feels the most natural for you. How to hold the yarn for crochet. To hold the yarn, loop the yarn through the fingers of your non-dominant hand. Pass the yarn over the pinky, under the third and middle fingers, and over your index finger. To create more tension on the yarn, you can loop the yarn once around the pinky before passing it under the third and middle fingers and over the index finger. Holding the yarn this way may be awkward at first, but keep practicing. With time, you will find your favorite way to hold and keep tension on the yarn. Step 2: How to tie a slip knot. Next, tie a slip knot to attach the yarn to the crochet hook. To make a slip knot, pull a length of yarn from the ball. Start the loop approximately 6 inches from the end of the yarn, leaving a tail to weave in later. Place the ball end of the yarn in a clockwise circle, laying it over the top of the tail end. Insert the crochet hook into the center of the loop, from front to back. Use the hook to grab the ball end yarn, and pull it through the center of the loop. Pull both ends of the yarn to tighten the loop around the hook. The slip knot is complete, and you are ready to start crocheting. Step 3: How to yarn over. The yarn over, abbreviated YO, is a foundational crochet technique that you'll use to make all of the basic crochet stitches. For example, you'll use yarn overs to make a starting chain in the next step, and to make single crochet stitches after that. Here's how to yarn over. Loop the working yarn over the hook clockwise from back to front. Use your left hand index finger to wrap the yarn over the crochet hook, or use your right hand to pivot the hook under the yarn. Either action accomplishes the same thing. Once you've practiced the yaw motion by itself, you use it as part of the basic crochet stitches. Let's continue. Step 4: How to make a starting chain. The next step is to make a starting chain. A starting chain is a number of crochet chain stitches that forms the foundation for the rest of the crochet project. To make a starting chain, hold the hook in your right hand and the yarn in your left hand. Insert the hook into the slip knot, if it isn't there already. Hold the end of the slip knot between the thumb and middle finger of your left hand. Bring the working yarn over the hook from back to front, aka yarn over. Rotate the hook slightly to catch the yarn in the bowl or mouth of the hook. Pull the hook through the loop on the hook. One chain stitch is complete. To make another chain stitch, yarn over the hook and pull up another loop. Repeat this process, making as many chain stitches as your pattern calls for. To follow along with my swatch, make 11 chain stitches. As you work, move your left hand fingers up along the chain. For the most control, hold the chain 2 or 3 stitches away from the hook. It can take some practice to keep your tension consistent from one chain stitch to the next, so keep practicing. In time, you will find your rhythm. Note, when counting how many chains you've made, do not count the loop on your hook or the slip knot as a stitch. Step 5. Working into the chain. Let's take a closer look at the chain stitches you've just made. The front of the chain looks like a series of interlocking verses, and, if you turn the chain over to the reverse side, you'll see that each stitch has a bump or back bar. You'll work the first row of crochet stitches into this foundation chain. Depending on the type of stitch, you'll make the first stitch of the row into the second, third, or fourth chain from the hook. The pattern instructions will tell you where to make your first stitch. To work into the starting chain, insert the crochet hook into the chain stitch from front to back. The tip of the hook will pass through the center of the V. Note, some patterns will ask you to turn the chain over and make the first row of stitches into the back bar only. Working into the back bar can give your project a cleaner edge. The first row of crochet can be difficult, especially for new beginners. Working into chain stitches is tricky. It's hard to know exactly where to insert your hook, and there isn't much fabric for your other hand to hold. Even so, I hope you will persevere. After the first few rows of stitches, it will be much easier to know where to insert your hook and hold the work steady. Step 6. How to single crochet. Single crochet is a simple stitch that's perfect for your first project. It's one of the most basic and most common crochet stitches. It's often abbreviated SC in crochet patterns. Let's make the first row of our swatch in single crochet stitches. Start with a chain of 11 stitches. You can use the starting chain that we made in the previous section, then, insert the hook into the second chain from the hook. Bring the yarn over the hook from back to front. Draw the yarn through the chain to pull up a loop. You will now have 2 loops on the hook. Next, yarn over again. Draw the yarn through both loops on the hook. You will now have 1 loop on the hook, and your first single crochet is complete. Repeat these steps, making 1 single crochet stitch into each of the 9 remaining chain stitches for a total of 10 single crochets. As you work, be careful not to twist the chain. Step 7. How to make a turning chain. When you come to the end of a row, you will turn your work over, make 1 or more chain stitches for the turning chain, and then begin the next row of stitches. Turn the work. To turn your work, simply rotate the piece 180° clockwise. The opposite side of the work will now be facing you. I like to keep my hook in the stitch as I turn the work so that I don't lose my place. Turning chain. After you turn the work, you'll need to make 1 or more chain stitches. These chain stitches, called the turning chain, bring the yarn up to the correct height to work the first stitch of the next row. The number of chains in the turning chain depends on the height of the stitch you'll be making in the next row. Single crochet, 1 chain half double crochet, 2 chains double crochet, 3 chains triple crochet, 4 chains. Which comes first, the turn or the chain one? Should you turn your work first or chain first? It actually doesn't matter which step you do first. The only thing that matters that you pick one way and stay consistent throughout your piece. It's also a good idea to always turn your work in the same way, either clockwise or counterclockwise. Step 8. How to work row 2. Let's go back to our crochet swatch and make the second row of single crochet stitches. This row will be worked into the previous row of single crochet stitches, not into the starting chain. Turn the work and chain 1. The turning chain worked at the beginning of a single crochet row does not count as a stitch. Insert the hook under the top 2 loops of the last stitch of the previous row. Yarn over from back to front. Draw the yarn through the stitch and pull up a loop. There will be 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over again, and pull through both loops on the hook. There will be 1 loop left on the hook. The single crochet stitch is complete. Work right to left across the row. Repeat these steps, making 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 9 remaining stitches. Count your stitches, and make sure you have the correct number. At this point, you can turn your work to make another row of stitches. Keep making more rows of single crochet until you've reached your desired length. Then, cut the yarn and fasten it off. Step 9. How to fasten off. Once you've completed the last row of your crochet swatch, you'll need to fasten off the yarn so that the stitches don't unravel. To fasten off, cut the yarn, leaving a 6-inch yarn tail. Use the hook to updraw the yarn tail through the loop on your hook. Remove the crochet hook from the work, and pull on the yarn tail to tighten it. At this point, you may want to weave in the yarn tails to secure them. To weave in the ends, thread a blunt-tipped yarn needle with the yarn tail. Then, weave the needle back and forth through the crochet fabric. And there you go. You've just completed your first crochet swatch.